Welcome to Trulyfit, the online fitness marketplace connecting pros and clients through unique fitness business software.
Aaron, thanks so much for joining the Trulyfit Podcast. Why don't you give the audience and the listeners a little background on you, what you do in the health and fitness industry, and your credentials?
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on the podcast with you. I'm really excited to talk about, what I'm doing and what our team is doing here in Florida with AVIV. So my role with the company, I am the head of physical performance. So I work and manage with physical therapists, exercise physiologists, athletic trainers, dietitians. And at AVIV, our focus is working with clients to improve their cognitive and physical performance through hyperbaric oxygen therapy. In previous roles, I've spent time, within health and wellness, strength and conditioning, nutrition, some time in sports performance, both in a formal healthcare setting as well as in kind of a private sector as well. Education-wise, undergraduate in exercise science, and then went and did a graduate school for exercise physiology.
Can you give us a little background on AVIV? And I guess maybe it's easiest to start with like the head macro program, and then we can get into how the golf performance program ties into that.
Sure, you hit it on the head. So the AVIV Clinics is a hyperbaric oxygen therapy medical program. So we work with clients, they come in, we do a formal 3-day deep dive assessment into everything related to their health span. We go through treatment, which looks like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 3 months. So 12 weeks of time going through this hyperbaric program. And then we're going to do analysis on the back end. So really the tie-in with our golf program was we started to interact and work with clients and have conversations around how their golf game was. They would start making comments as they were halfway through the program about, I feel like my focus has improved. My organization on each hole is better. I feel like my approaches are better. I'm putting better. My drives are more consistent. My shot distributions, I'm not spraying the ball as much. And so as we started to kind of hone in on some of these, it wasn't a single person or event. It started to just become more consistent in hearing that. And so that's really where we chose to widen our lens, if you will, and focus in on the golf performance side of it. And we brought into the team some PGA and LPGA instructors. So as part of the medical program, this golf performance side was created. We officially kicked it off a few months ago, back in November. So we've only been really operating fully with it for a couple of months now, but so far we have a couple of clients in the program and they're seeing good changes thus far.
Does anybody else do this in the country, or is this unique to you guys?
There are other companies, other organizations, as we were talking before, that have golf performance programs. You go to them, you get your swing analyzed. They give you some cues, give you some tips, work through it. What sets AVIV apart and the AVIV golf performance apart really comes down to two things. Number one is the hyperbaric. What we are doing around hyperbaric medicine is like nothing else that the United States has seen today. What we do is we fluctuate the oxygen. So when clients go into the hyperbaric, they're inside for 2 hours. We're increasing the pressure just a little bit to 2 atmospheres. It kind of feels like you're in an airplane. So you get a little tightness on the ears. We got to equalize a little bit, but we're at pressure. And we fluctuate through a mask, 100% oxygen that they're going to breathe for 20 minutes. And then we remove that for 5. And then 20 on, 5 off. And we do that through the whole 2-hour session. And so why that is different and really why it's important is it causes a couple things within the body. It causes natural stem cell production. And that's the one that, people really hone and focus in on. But the one that really why I chose to leave my previous roles and come be part of AVIV was because of some of the regenerative processes that we are seeing within the brain and within the body. So that's really the first, is from the hyperbaric. The second comes with our multidisciplinary team. So this is a program that's entirely individualized and tailored to the person and their health. And we're also focusing on golf during this time as well. So those are really the two things that set AVIV apart from other, golf related programs.
I think the Hyperbaric is exciting. To me, it's new technology. I don't know a lot about it. The first time I heard of it was there were football players in the NFL actually who purchased their own, and LeBron James had purchased his own. And then obviously before you know it, you see them on Instagram and it becomes a hit. Can you speak to concerns people may have? Are there any like rumors about there being issues with the hyperbaric chamber? Are there any negatives to using this at all?
Right. So, with everything, there's contraindications, reasons why you shouldn't do it. The biggest one is something that we call barotrauma. And that's where as the pressure starts to increase, we get some pressure on the ears. If we don't equalize appropriately, that could cause some damage. We have nurses in the dives. We call them dives. Terminology is very similar to like scuba diving. But we have nurses in the hyperbaric sessions with the clients to work on processes to help equalize and to alleviate that. Other contraindications, if you will, if somebody is having active seizures, that's a reason why we shouldn't do a hyperbaric. If they've had a stroke within the last 5 or 6 months, those would be some things, active cancers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've listened to this podcast, my listeners know that I always say there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs. So of course, if your answer was, no, there's absolutely never any issues with any of this, I would be skeptical, but it sounds like it is, 99% effective or useful for most of the demographic, provided you don't have a certain issue, which is fantastic.
100% right. So that is really where our assessment process comes into play. So every single client is going through 3 days of extensive assessments. And the goal of that for us is a couple reasons. Obviously, client safety, that's the biggest one. Are you safe to go into this hyperbaric program? But the second is it helps us to identify, where is our starting point? Where are our objective baselines? And then how can our clinicians individualize a program to work with you on every aspect of your health? So, we're working, if you came into the program, you're going to have sessions with a nutritionist to talk about your eating habits. You're going to have sessions with a neuropsychologist to do tailored, focused time on your cognition and your cognitive function. Time with my team of physical therapists and exercise physiologists to really work on, the strength, the balance, the stability, the mobility side as it plays into the golf game. And so it's an all-encompassing approach to your health span.
I think that's fantastic. I talk about it a lot, how we need these groups to work together, whether it's your physician, your personal trainer, your psychologist, your RD, your registered dietitian, and all of these people, because obviously we need to look at health from sort of a wholesome approach. And you guys do that there. You sort of already have done this, but can you really walk me through your client experience from start to finish? I come in, I walk into AVIV and I say, I want to sign up. How does that process go from start to finish?
So the first touch point with every client is a sit down conversation with one of our physicians. Come in, let's see, put eyes on the facility, but more importantly, let's get to know you and what are your goals? What are your expectations as you would enter this program and then upon completing? But there's really 4 phases of the experience. The first is going to be the assessment process. Let's sit down, let's go through these 3 days of in-depth testing, and let's get those outcomes. The second is going to be the treatment. So going through being in the hyperbaric for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 12 weeks. But then all of the other sessions with the providers comes into play, right? And then if we're focused on golf, we're going to have specific assessments and specific time with golf instructors. Because something that we really wanted to have out of this is collaboration between the golf instructors, but also the physical performance and the cognitive performance teams. Because when you look at the golf game, if you take a step back, there's a lot of crossover between, as the physical side of the game, but the mental side of the game. And we want to see that and work together in the assessments. So that's really part 2. 3 is going to be the analysis. So once the treatment has been completed, let's take a step back, let's reevaluate and show those objective changes pre and post. And then we'll have the 4th part being follow-up. So we invite clients back 6 to 8 months after completing the program to do some ongoing evaluations and objective measurements.
Because of your location, I imagine the vast majority of your demographic are seniors. Is this program specifically catered to seniors? Can anybody join? And if there is a difference between what you do, let's say, with a younger golfer in your performance program and a senior, could you expand on that?
Yeah. Steve, everyone, whether it's, somebody that is 70 years old or, guys like us that are in their 30s, we can all improve in some way physically or cognitively. And that's really where our program, touches at. So while we have a focused attention on, seniors and their golf and their physical performance and cognitive performance, this program is really for anybody that's out there wanting to improve cognitively or physically. Right now, our youngest client is 20 years old. Our oldest client that has gone through the AVIV medical program was 90 years old. And then it's really the individualization, so whatever your goals are coming in, everything is tailored to you. So when we talk about golf, right, if you're a beginner golfer, that's fine. We're going to do some assessments to look at your golf swing. What are those fundamental aspects that we need to implement? And what are those strength, flexibility, balance exercises that are going to help enhance your game where you're at today? If you are a professional golfer, right, we may not need to do a whole lot of physical tweaking with your golf swing because you've had all those repetitions. We may really be focusing on the neurocognitive side of your game and your approaches and what your mindset is like as you step foot on, to the tee box. So it can really be tailored to each person at each level.
Yeah, as we talked on the front end of this, pre-recording here, I worked at a sort of a golf-related country club. There were 6 golf courses on that particular island. So I worked with a lot of golfers as a personal trainer, and I'll tell you that it's a very easy pitch for personal trainers to tell these golfers, listen, you spent thousands of dollars on your equipment. You spent thousands of dollars on your golf lessons. You just bought a putter, yesterday for $400. You're doing all of these things inside of the game, but if you're not focused on your health, you're not going to be able to play the game. So it's to me, it's a really easy pitch to these golfers to go about it, to make sure that they're taking their health seriously and taking both the cognitive side, like you talked about, but also the physical side into play to advance their game, but also to extend their lives playing golf. Now this is a leading question here, but is it difficult to pitch people on this? Because it sounds really easy. Everything you're saying, I want to sign up tomorrow.
So, I'm a longtime golfer. I started with my dad and brother at an early age and, continued to play into high school, college, and today. By no means am I amazing, right? But I've continued it. And I'm guilty of this as well. I'm not driving the ball as I might like. Oh, this will be resolved by going and getting a new driver. When you really break it down, our focus is on improving the health span. And if we can make some changes, make some improvements in how we're eating, how we're exercising, what our stress levels like, how we're sleeping, all of those different aspects are going to play into how we are performing during our golf round. And so that is really, our talking points when I speak with clients, it's, that is what our focus is at AVIV. There's a golf component of it, but our focus is improving health span. And then that translates over to how you're playing day in and day out.
What are reasonable results that one may be able to see from AVIV, whether that's on, let's say, the medical side of some sort, or the cognitive side, or the golf side? Are there actual, like some sort of tangible result that you can hope for? Yeah.
So as part of the AVIV golf program and the medical program, what we know today after 15 years worth of research out of our R&D location in Israel is that as clients walk out of the program, they are noticing changes in their cognitive performance and their physical performance. So what does that mean? Cognitive performance. They're noticing things like improved attention, better focus, better processing speeds. If they're an executive and they're in meetings, they're keeping up with the numbers and the financials and the information. Memory, we're noticing big changes and improvements in our memory. But when we take that and cross that over to golf, right? If we have better focus and better attention, we're going to be able to read the green better. We're going to be able to base our organization on the course. What is our approach like? Better hand-eye coordination is going to have better shot distribution and better contact with the ball. So maybe less slices or fades, especially if they're unintentional. Things like that. When we talk about physical performance, what we're seeing through the medical side is changes in our cardiovascular and pulmonary functions. So if we're getting stronger, if we're improving our endurance and stamina, right, fatigue's not showing up as early, that's going to allow us to golf at a higher level, put more physical intensity into our rounds. But more importantly, what we're hearing is better and improved changes in their recovery. So that's something that I've heard from a number of our clients is, they would only be able to go out and golf, a round of 18 every few days because they'd wake up the next day and have some joint aches and pains and things, and they couldn't do back-to-back rounds. But that's their life. They came to this area, they wanted to retire, they wanted to go play every day, and they're not able to. And so as part of this program, we're starting to see changes where they can go back and do some of those things that they used to be able to do before.
Do you have clients either personally or in the program who have movement disorders, let's say like Parkinson's? Because, I worked with a fair amount of Parkinson's patients and other movement disorders. And I found it, there was actually studies done on this by Armstrong Atlantic, which is now Georgia Southern, in conjunction with some other people, but they showed programs, not golf specific, but programs like this that merge the cognitive and the exercise and all this can not necessarily rescind any issues due to the Alzheimer's or the movement disorders like Parkinson's, but it can certainly halt and stave off further neurons being, let's say, lost and keep that cognitive function going at a high level.
So we, at AVIV on the medical program, we work with any client. We have had some clients come through with Parkinsonism. We've had clients that have had traumatic brain injury and stroke, early stages of cognitive decline. And that's really where we let the assessment process drive how we're going to work with the clients. Because we're going to be doing images, brain imaging to look at how is the brain being impacted? What is our current anatomy? Carry that over with our cognitive assessments. How is the brain functioning? And is this a program that could make an impact for them? As you said, we are never going to say anything about curing any type of diagnosis. But something that this program could do is help to reduce some of the symptoms that we're living with day in and day out.
You mentioned some of the, I guess you call it equipment, for lack of a better term, for as far as the imaging is concerned. You talked about the Hyperbaric. And are there any other pieces of equipment you use either on the golf side or the medical side that you find interesting?
So on the golf side, we are doing a swing analysis, slow motion cameras. Let's get some swings in, and then let's really take a step back and together with the golf instructor, collaborate on, what are they seeing with the golf swing, and then physiologically, what are we also seeing happen? The majority of clients coming in are going to be able to improve from, better flexibility in their hip flexors, better glute activation, better core engagement. So, that's a lot of it. But it's, hey, I had a total knee replacement a few years ago. I had some sort of injury in my shoulder. How can we prescribe and build the golf swing around what you are dealing with today? Because it should never be a one size fits all. Right? Everyone has a specific swing, and we can't always give these very generic tips and tricks around fixing it. Sometimes it needs to be tailored to the person. So that's one. We have a gait analysis treadmill, so a high-tech treadmill where we can do analysis on how somebody is walking. Are there a difference in stride lengths, how the feet are rotating? does that change the faster that we go? Those things are going to allow us to identify some compensations within the muscle. And then that's really where we, our team comes in and approaches, myofascial release, soft tissue injuries, getting stronger imbalances within the muscle, improving strength, things like that.
So Aaron, you did a great job describing sort of the client experience and also sort of the wholesome experience between all of the different positions that work in AVIV together in concert. But can you give me a little bit more detailed about Aaron's day? What does a day look like for you at AVIV? What are you doing in the morning when you first get there? What are you working with clients? And I guess what is sort of your scope of practice there?
Yeah. So previously, I was a 100% hands-on clinician. So my entire day was working with clients. And then I shifted into leadership, managerial tasks for a little while. And then when I came to AVIV, I was really excited because I was able to get and have a healthy mix of those leadership responsibilities, but also the hands-on guidance with the clients. And that was something that I missed for a little while. So what does my day look like? We start every morning with a huddle with all of our providers. So our physicians, our nurses, our physical performance team, our neurocognitive team, our dietitians. And we talk about all of the clients that we're going to see that day. What are our approaches? Did anything go on the day before that we need to be aware of? So it really allows that good collaboration and communication among all of the disciplines for guiding each person's programs. A lot of the morning is going to be working with clients on their strength, on their stability, on their balance. Working on some different aspects of the golf swing that we identified with the instructors. The afternoons are going to be more meetings, going to the golf course, collaborating with the instructors, maybe going out and playing around a golf with a client, trying to keep that engagement and that collaboration with them.
I imagine there's a lot of work done with people either pre or post-op. I say that because I work with the senior population, and now that I work with the senior population, I think I should have got into hip or knee replacements. That's where the money's at, because every other day, one of my clients is getting a hip or knee replacement. Yeah. So what exactly do you guys do on that end? Or do you take on clients who are post and pre-op?
So for the most part, when a client steps foot into the AVIV program, that 12-week window is really when we are doing the bulk of our training and our guidance with them. Once they've completed the program, we are still doing follow-up sessions, building new programs, updating programs, modifying things as they come up. A lot of times that's where we can shift to more of a virtual type of setting, where, if someone is from out of state or out of town, hey, let's set up a Zoom call, every month or every couple of weeks to do a check-in and see how things are going. But for the most part, that 12 weeks is when we're really doing the in-person guidance and training.
So do you have people specifically that would come down there or who live there for part of the year, take this 12 weeks with you and your team, and then live most of the year somewhere else, but still check in virtually? And do you check in virtually like this, or do you have another medium in which you use?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of clients that will come into Central Florida for the 12-week program from out of town or out of state. We've had a number of people fly in from New York, California, all over the United States for this. And then, as you mentioned, right when the program gets done, we'll do all of our post assessments. They'll go home. And then we will have, weekly, every few weeks, every month check-ins with them just to see how things are going and then build those programs. A lot of times it is tailored to the client. If they just want to do a phone call, that's fine. If they want to do text messaging, that's great. If they want a formal Zoom call, that is good as well. There's a lot of assessments that we can do virtually and talk clients through it, have them take a few steps back from the camera and evaluate, some low grade muscle compensations and what's going on, and give guidance through that. So
you mentioned this earlier, Aaron, but it just slipped my mind. Can you name all of the positions involved in this, from what exactly you do to, the specific medical physicians? Can you just kind of name everyone who's involved in this process?
Sure. So at the top, we have our physicians that are overseeing every client's full medical program. Clients will also come into contact with nursing teams or nurses, dietitians to look at our metabolism and our eating styles, the neurocognitive team to really look at, how is your brain performance and your cognitive function? What does that mean? Specifically, they're going to look at processing speed, focus, reaction time. Our physical performance team is assembled with physical therapists, athletic trainers, exercise physiologists. Those are the majority of the clinicians that we have on site. And then we have our team that runs the hyperbaric chambers as well. And then our golf instructors, of course. So.
Can you talk a little bit, maybe lastly, because we didn't touch on this and maybe some of the listeners don't know, about the area specifically that you're in, and how your golf program works in that area, tied into the villages or not?
Yeah. So we are located in Central Florida, about 45-ish minutes north of Orlando. We are in an area that has a ton of golf courses. There's something like 50 plus golf courses in the area. So very heavy golf, pickleball as well. And that was something when our location was established here, my goal as a clinician, yes, we have all of these objective assessments, right, that we're looking at clinically, but how can I find something tangible to kind of connect the dots for anyone that I'm working with? If you come in and you say you play tennis, well, great. What are some of the cognitive changes and physical changes that we are going to see? And how can we point some of those things out in those day-to-day activities that you're doing with tennis or golf or whatever that may be?
Aaron, this has been a wealth of great information. Where can the listeners find more about, if they're general population, about the AVIV program, of course, and if they're personal trainers or people on the health side, other clinicians, can they reach out to you or someone else to find out more about the actual physical side of the program and maybe even, applying to work there? Yeah.
So my personal email is Aaron, AARON, at AVIV, AVIV-clinics.com. You can visit our website at aviv-clinics.com. We have a Facebook page and Instagram account as well. If you're just interested in getting more information and just want to pick up the phone, our phone number is area code 352-488-2848. And the first session that every client has is sitting down with one of our physicians to talk about, deeper dive into the hyperbaric program. What are your goals with this? And what could we expect to see upon completion of the program? And that's a complimentary free session that can be either in person or Zoom.
My guest today has been AVIV's Aaron Tribby. Aaron, thank you so much for joining the Trulyfit Podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Pleasure to be on.